This is Brian, ScreenFiles.com and Review. What I'm looking at today is 2013's Willow Creek, directed by Bobcat Goldthwait. Yeah, that Bobcat Goldthwait. And this is probably not only one of the best found footage movies I've ever seen, but also the best Bigfoot movie I've ever seen. And when I say Bigfoot movie, I mean horror movie. And admittedly, a subgenre, it's actually a little more extensive than you think. In any case, what makes this movie work so well is that Bobcat Goldthwait introduced us to two really interesting people, Jim and Kelly, and Jim is fascinated by Bigfoot and its legend. So Kelly decides to go with him on a trip to see where that film was shot that allegedly had Bigfoot crossing where these, I guess, fallen trees were and so on. And what the movie does is introduce us to quite a few people, some eccentric who believe in Bigfoot, others not so much. But what's most important is the movie doesn't mock them if they do believe in Bigfoot. It just treats them as an interesting person. And so we hear different sides of the Bigfoot story. And suffice it to say, Jim and Kelly end up going camping where they discover Bigfoot is indeed real. As I said, this is a found footage movie. Well, I should say it's filmed in found footage style. And it is much more clever than I gave it credit for at any rate. And I actually had to watch it twice because the ending knocked me off a bit. But as I said, this is a really good movie, and there's lots of details in it. You have to pay attention. One little detail at the beginning, which I noticed / didn't notice, paid off big time at the end. And I just didn't understand it. And I actually sent a tweet to Bobcat Goldthwait to explain the ending to me prior to rewatching it. Now that I rewatched it, I get it. And it's actually really clever. And I'm so glad he didn't respond to the email to tell me what this ending was, because it works. This is such a well done movie. And I said it's found footage. And obviously it's very much inspired by things like the Blair Witch Project. But unlike the Blair Witch Project, this works much better. For a start, as I said, the characters are very likable and interesting. And even if you don't like them so much, I don't think you can deny they're interesting. And their dialogue is always enjoyable to listen to. And they're realistic, and that helps further the plot along. And sure, when things get really not good, Jim doesn't drop the camera. The thing is though, in this context, it makes a little more sense than it typically does. Because as I said earlier, Jim was obsessed with Bigfoot. In fact, the movie says that since he was 8, he was so interested in the legend of Bigfoot. So when things started to indicate that Bigfoot may not exactly be a legend, the idea that he would put down that camera runs the polar opposite of everything this man's life is about. He would not do it. In fact, the greater the risk to him, the more likelier he is to hold on to the camera. And speaking of the camera, it doesn't feel like a Steadicam. It's a handheld camera, and it reacts like a handheld camera, being held by someone who's in motion a lot. So your images are blurry, it shakes a lot, and it doesn't feel like a Steadicam. A Steadicam can kind of mimic that feel, but it doesn't do it as well as just having a camera in your hand, which I'm pretty sure they're doing here. It works really well. This movie is really effective. It's atmospheric. It's fun. And it shocks me. Not that Bobcat Goldthwait is a bad director. He actually has a pretty impressive resume. But at the same time, I've never known him to do horror. And Willow Creek is, as I said, one of the best examples of the found footage genre you're likely to find. This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com and Review. Peace.